Blog Talk Radio.
Franchise interviews from Easton, Pennsylvania to Sydney, Australia. You're listening to Franchise Interviews. Franchise Interviews. Welcome to Franchise Interviews. Franchise Interviews has been giving an up-close, behind-the-scenes look at franchising and entrepreneurship. Listen to interviews with franchisers, franchisees, franchise authors, franchise experts, and attorneys. And now, welcome your host, Marty McDermott, and Franchise Interviews.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to a very special edition of Franchise Interviews, where for over 11 years now, we've been asking the entrepreneurs who own one. I'm your host, Marty McDermott. I'm the president of Franchise Interviews, and we have a great show today. We're meeting with Ramon Castillon, the president of Row House. And Row House is a boutique fitness concept which was created with a specific objective to give people of all different shapes, sizes, and abilities an efficient, effective, high cardio, full body workout in an inclusive group environment. We're going to talk to Ramon about that in just a moment on Franchise Interviews. So stick around because we have a great show.
Are you looking for a unique and lucrative franchise opportunity? If so, take a look at Stone Coat. With a patented process which creates a true stone finish on almost any wall or ceiling, Stone Coat is a true game-changing product in the multi-billion-dollar construction industry. Stone Coat is applied faster, cleaner, and cheaper than conventional quarried stone, which saves both time and money. With advantages in remodel and new construction of both residential and commercial projects, Stone Coat is a true crossover product. The Stone Coat franchise opportunity provides a low startup cost, low operating expenses, comprehensive training, ongoing support, and no royalty payments. For more information on the Stone Coat franchise opportunity, go to www.stonecoatfranchise.com. That's www.stonecoatfranchise.com, or call us at 972-380-2700. That's 972-380-2700.
Hi, this is Connie McDermott, Administrative Assistant for Franchise Interviews, LLC, and you're listening to Franchise Interviews.
Franchise Interviews from Easton, Pennsylvania to Sydney, Australia. You're listening to Franchise Interviews. Franchise Interviews.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to a very special edition of Franchise Interviews, where for over 11 years now, we've been asking the entrepreneurs who own one. I'm your host, Marty McDermott. I'm the president of Franchise Interviews, and as we were saying earlier, we have a great show today. We're meeting with Ramon Castillon, the president of Row House. And Row House is a boutique fitness concept which was created with a specific objective to give people of all different shapes, sizes, and abilities an efficient, effective, high cardio, full body workout in an inclusive group environment. Hi, Ramon. How are you? Welcome to the show.
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. I didn't butcher your name, Ramon. Did I? Is it Ramon Castillon? Did I say that okay?
It was close. I gotta give you major kudos. It's Ramon It's well, the right way is Ramon Castillon.
Castillon. There you go.
Castillon. My parents are from Mexico, so.
They are. Okay, shame on me. I took 4 years of Spanish, Ramon. Yeah. My Spanish teachers would be very upset with me right now. And I said, oh God, please don't butcher it, you know. But it's a great. It's okay. Okay, well, it's great to have you on the show, you know, because I've been reading about your background. It's very impressive, you know. We always like to ask our guests, where are you calling from this morning, Ramon?
I'm calling here from Orange County in our corporate offices.
Oh, fantastic. How's the weather there today?
It's good. We actually just are coming out of a heat wave where it was like in the high hundreds. Yeah, wow. And now it's a comfortable, I would say,
that's good.
80% humidity, 80 degrees. So it's hot and humid, but it's not as bad as it was.
That's fantastic. We had the same thing, Ramon. It was last week. I mean, it was in Easton, Pennsylvania. It was about 105 degrees, if you can imagine. I mean, it was brutal,
goodness.
So the air condition just did not shut off, and but that's great. The weather is great there now. Maybe when I was reading about the whole story, Ramon, I thought it was very impressive. Maybe you could walk us through the row house concept, and how the brand, actually got its start.
Yeah, so our founders, Deb and Eric, have been in the fitness industry for a while now, and as they were kind of going through this journey, experiencing different things such as CrossFit or spinning, etc., they were always in search of what is the smartest, most efficient way of working out that really addresses a very, very broad demographic. And along that journey, they discovered rowing, and they really immersed themselves into the culture. And with that, they saw that there was this really big opportunity where no one was really doing rowing the right way. Mm-hmm. And they felt like they could create a very strong brand that could address a market that had huge opportunity. And what's always very unique about rowing is that it really covers a broad demographic. Yeah. So it can work with very young individuals that are really into performance, all the way to individuals that are recovering from injuries late in their age, to overweight individuals who might struggle to get on a treadmill or a spin bike. What they saw is that rowing really covered a lot, which was great because that really creates a really great opportunity in terms of having a successful business. And so from that, they created Row House, and Row House is a boutique fitness brand focused on bringing rowing to the masses, and it really leverages the camaraderie and the drive that is related to the sport of rowing. So when you come and you take class, the goal is that you become a better rower because we believe that rowing by itself is an amazing workout because it engages your entire body. It works on strength, posture, flexibility, core, and that by itself really delivers results. And so they started on that journey, and they created the brand, and so things have gone really well for them. And then they've created a partnership with Exponential Fitness, and with that partnership, the goal has been to take it to the masses and expand nationally. And it's a really great relationship because there's just a lot of experience within the industry from the Exponential side that's able to partner with Row House to scale the business the right way. And that's been our journey, and that's what Row House is. Super excited. It's been really cool to see how excited the market is about rowing and how strongly people have reacted to it. And very early on, it's been a very positive journey for us.
I guess, it seems like when I was watching some videos, Ramon, it seems like it's a fun concept. It's a team atmosphere. I remember I used to go on the exercise bike and I would do spinning. And I just felt like I was burning calories, but I felt like I was only working out my legs. You know what I mean? And I just said nothing's happening with the other parts of my body. So and that's what I got. When I was looking at your concept, I said, wow. I said, this concept. I mean, you're working out all the parts of your body, like you were saying earlier, which is fantastic. And I like how you mentioned too that you appeal to really all different shapes, sizes, abilities. I think that's important because I think a lot of times, especially when you get a little older, of course, sometimes gyms could be, fitness centers could be a little bit intimidating to a lot of people because you see people and they're all buffed and worked out. You say, oh my God, I want to get out of here. I don't feel right here. But your concept doesn't do that, does it? I mean, I think it seems to me it makes everyone feel welcome to Row House. I think that's important, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's the tie to the rowing culture. So to be successful in rowing, for a boat to be able to efficiently move through the water, you bring individuals of different strengths and abilities and also different kind of mental states, and they all have to work together and row on the same stroke. If anyone is off, the boat doesn't efficiently move through the water. And so in class, we recreate that experience. So you have people that have very different abilities. Some people that are working really hard and generating a ton of power, and you have other people that are beginners on their fitness journey that have been intimidated going into other types of high-intensity training or boutique fitness environments, and they're all working together on the same stroke. So the workout feels the same, like I'm part of a community working together towards a common goal. But at an individual level, everyone's having their own workout. And so it really starts to create this community and this feeling of actually belonging, which whenever you dive into rowing and the rowing culture or read a book like Boys in the Boat, you realize that is really the it factor when it comes to rowing. And so we really focus on recreating that in the studio, which is why we've seen across our studios a very broad demographic at different shapes and sizes, and no one really feeling like an outsider, which is really important to us. Yes, because our goal is one of our key values is inclusive, and so if we ever deviate from that experience, then obviously people won't feel like they're part of a community, and we never want that to happen.
I live right by the Delaware River, Ramon, here in Pennsylvania. And if the closer you get down to Philadelphia, you see that there's like a lot of like row teams, and then every so often I'll watch them, And I said it looks really interesting and fun. How popular is rowing today, Ramon? And maybe you could talk also about are there other concepts like Row House?
Yeah, so I always share this with everyone when I talk about rowing. Is rowing has been around for a really long time, and a lot of people have been exposed to it more than I think folks actually realize at first. So as I started to learn more about rowing, you realize it's been part of every Olympics except the very first one. And the only one it wasn't in was the one in Athens. Yeah, and then the other part that I found really interesting is that it's the first intercollegiate sport in the United States. So this was the first thing this is the very first thing that when people went to college or university and wanted to continue to compete at a collegiate level, rowing was what people did. And it was you had East versus West, you had all these amazing regattas. And so it's been around for a really long time. And it's been one of those things that I think has been revitalized over the last couple of years, where either through other boutique fitness concepts or in gyms themselves, just kind of seeing the Concept 2 rowers sitting there and wondering what they are, seeing some people get on them, or even in CrossFit, people's interest has been piqued, So it's been around. I think it's been around for a while, and there have been a lot of individuals that have been exposed to it, either, as you mentioned, seeing it like on the Delaware River, or participating in the sport in college, or even seeing it in the gym. But I think what's happening now is you're seeing a marketplace where individuals are looking for something that is safe and sustainable and smart in terms of a way of working out. And there's also just a level of exhaustion related to concepts that are on the treadmill or concepts that have been on a bike. And so the timing is right for rowing to really take off. And so what we're seeing is that the response to to the Row House brand has been really strong, because people are looking for something like that. And so I think the market's been asking for it, and we're delivering it. And to see the two converge is really exciting for us. So I think my opinion is I think rowing is going to continue to become more and more popular. What I would say differentiates Row House as a brand is that our goal is not to allow the rowing part of our programming to become gimmicky. That's really important, because if you allow it to become gimmicky, where you just get on the rower and just go really hard and then you jump off of it and you do something else, you lose that experience that we were talking about earlier, which is the connection that occurs across the entire group. And so it's really important to us that when you come to class, you're always learning about how to row, because rowing is one of those things where as you continue to learn more and more, the workout becomes better for you. So you're able to generate more power, you're able to engage your muscles more, you're going to burn more calories, you're going to actually activate your core more, you're going to improve your posture. And so it's one of those learning curves where there isn't a ceiling, and that's something that rowers always talk about, is that there's always another level to go to. The problem is that if as a brand, if you don't focus on that journey and educating the consumer, what ends up happening is you become gimmicky, and it's just part of the programming. And I would say at Row House, that's probably the biggest difference about what we do versus anyone else who's trying to incorporate rowing into their overall program.
Yeah, I have to say, I mean, and we don't have anything like your concept out here in Eastern Pennsylvania, as far as I know, Ramon. You know, I mean, it's interesting. You know, you wonder sometimes. You know, I've been doing the show, it's almost 12 years now, you know, and you wonder sometimes, like, what took so long to, you know, for this concept to kind of, like, be introduced to the world? Because, as you said, it's an old concept, but, you know, and now, you know, you guys are bringing it to the world, you know, and sometimes you say it seems so obvious, you know, and I kick myself a lot of times to say, God, why didn't I think of that? You know, I mean, it just makes so much sense. My wife and I were watching the Social Network the other night. I don't know if you've ever seen the movie, you know, the whole Facebook story, and you know, and you got the two twins rowing. You know, you see, you know what great shape they're in. You know, and I've always imagined that, you know, this type of, you know, workout, it really has all these different benefits. Maybe we could talk a little bit, you know, about, you know, franchising, Ramon. I mean, maybe you could share more about, you know, Row House, the franchise opportunity, you know, and the brand's growth so far to date.
Yeah, it's a very exciting time for us. We started selling franchises 3 months ago, and things have been expanding rapidly for us. We have sold franchises across the entire U.S. You know, New York, Boston, Chicago, Pittsburgh, Texas, California, Denver, and that's just over 3 months. And people buying multiple locations. And so what I'm really excited about is, as the brand is starting to ramp up, it's really going to be a national deployment. You're going to see row houses across the entire U.S. You know, we just opened up our location in Orange County here in Tustin, and so this was our first location outside of New York. And you know, the question was, okay, Row House was in New York, it's doing well. Will it work elsewhere in different markets? And Tustin has been a huge success for us, which further validates that appetite to experience rowing and become part of a studio like Row House. And so we really believe that what we'll see over this very first year is that we'll sell north of 150 locations and have close to 15 to 20 locations open before this end of this year. It's definitely going to. Yeah, rowing is going to have a big presence in the next couple years, and we really believe at Row House that we're probably going to be the leading consumer brand in that space.
What was it about Row House, Ramon, that, you know, drew you to the company? You know, because when I was reading your background, you know, I mean, I saw you had, I think it was a degree in finance and economics from Stanford University. I mean, so you have this amazing, impressive background. I mean, you have your choice of, you can work anywhere you want. What was it about Row House that kind of, you know, drew you to the company?
So a lot of it is the founders. They're really good, amazing people, very, very thoughtful. You could just tell they understood how the brand needed to be positioned to be successful at scale, and to see that opportunity to me was really exciting. You know, I've been in fitness for a little bit, and I've been able to, for 10 years now, and I've been able to see a lot of trends evolve. So I started in big box, and while I was in big box, it was a time when boutique fitness was no more than 15 to 20% of the marketplace. And obviously that has shifted dramatically to now north of 50, 60%. So I've seen that evolution. I've seen I've seen also the evolution in the type of boutique fitness concepts that have taken off from when Bar Method started and CrossFit has happened, and even other fitness trends when Born to Run came out and everyone wanted to do barefoot running, but unfortunately they realized that we weren't efficient runners and we accumulated injuries. And so you see this evolution of people knowing that they're like, I need to work out, I need to do something. I don't have all the time in the world. What's the right thing for me to do? And so watching kind of everything evolve, and then learning about the Row House brand, learning about Dev and Eric, learning about Exponential and the guidance we have from Exponential, and seeing all that converge in one place, you just can't help but recognize the opportunity to really take something unique and scale it and have it have a place that I think is going to be permanent in our industry. Like I look back to when spinning took off, and everyone was, are people really going to ride a bike together, 50 people under one roof at the same time? Like that's crazy. Like people just do this outdoors. That's what you do. And what people missed was, yes, but there is still this history and culture to riding a bike that when people take class together under one roof with good music, it becomes somewhat either nostalgic or they can relate to what they're seeing in the sport. Rowing is that. Like rowing is exactly that again, where I think people come in and they're like, there's history, there's something to relate to, and if you really do a good job of presenting that, there's no reason why rowing and why Row House can't be what spinning was many, many years ago. And so that was what really drew me to this opportunity. I think the ability to kind of steer that was something that you just don't pass by.
That's terrific. What kind of what do you typically look for in your franchisees, Ramon? I know you meet with a lot of your prospective franchisees. I mean, what do you typically look for when you're meeting with them?
So you don't necessarily need past fitness experience.
Right.
You definitely do. We definitely do look for a passion for the brand and the overall mission and values of the brand. Like that's really important. Obviously you want franchisees that have management experience, that they demonstrate leadership skills, that they've built really strong teams. That those are really important attributes. The other thing that I always look for is I look for franchisees that I think are going to make us as a franchisor better. The great thing about as you're building out your franchise family is that everyone has different strengths and weaknesses, and I look at franchising as building a national team, and so every person is a team member that is helping each other out. So you kind of look at that. You're constantly asking yourself, is this person going to be an asset to the network, or are they going to be someone that takes away from it? So if they check off all those boxes, and we're gung ho, we're like, how do we get you to be part of Row House? Because the goal ultimately is a brand that scales nationally that is wildly successful, and you can't do that without the right people in place.
That's true. That's great. What is that? The training must be very interesting, Ramon. I mean, how does that typically work? Do your new franchisees, do they come out to headquarters for training? Maybe you could talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. So with all the Exponential brands, it's, I think, one of the most appealing things when it comes to becoming a Row House franchise is that you realize that you have support in every facet of the business, and there's no shared services. So you have a team member that is focused on helping you in real estate, marketing, operations, sales, training, retail, et cetera. And you go through what is a pretty extensive onboarding process. So it's very deep and very detailed. And our goal is that we cover every facet of the business and that you feel prepared to build your own business. The thing that I always preach is that the dialogue or the training never ends with just our one-on-one interactions. We're constantly looking on how to leverage technology to be able to extend that ongoing dialogue with our franchisees, to constantly provide them education on different facets of the business. And so that level of support, I think, is very rare at times within the franchising space. And at Row House, we really take it to another level where we've made a commitment at the end of the day that we're going to be the best in class when it comes to our franchisees, our operators, our team members, and our members themselves. And so that level of support is something that you get at Row House, but you also get at all the other Exponential brands as well.
Right. That's terrific. Where do you see Row House? I mean, if you could look into a crystal ball, Ramon, 5 years, 7 years, 10 years down the road, I mean, where do you see the organization?
I see our expectations is to see at least 100 new studios open every year through 2022 in different markets, suburban, metropolitan areas.
Right.
Just seeing the momentum that we've seen right now and understanding the marketplace and all the different places that we can open up, and the more and more that we sell franchises in different territories, we keep hearing that there are a bunch of rowers in those communities or people that have been intrigued by rowing. And it doesn't necessarily need to be near an ocean or near a main river. It's almost, I joke around, it's like as long as there's an existing body of water, there's probably someone who's been exposed to rowing or understands the culture. And so that's why I think that we'll see very, very strong growth over the next 10 years for sure.
That's terrific. Again, I was saying your background is very impressive, Ramon. The majority of our listeners, we call them aspiring franchipreneurs. Most of them have it in their minds that they'd like to get into franchising. From everything you've learned up to this point, what advice would you give to our listeners in their quest to buy a franchise?
Yeah. So my advice is to really do your due diligence in terms of finding the right franchise partner. The reason I say that is because entrepreneurship, it has two facets to it. People often only focus on one side of it. So the reason you get into entrepreneurship is you're ready to work for yourself, be your own boss, make a difference. You hire people, make a difference in your team members, make a difference in your consumer. So there's all this exciting and positive energy that comes into being an entrepreneur, which is why people make that leap of faith.
Right.
The other side of it is you're building a business which most people don't have experience doing from the ground up. And with that comes so much risk. And that's why you have a lot of dreams that get crushed. Because there's just so many different landmines along the entrepreneur journey that unfortunately take what was originally this very positive environment and whittle away at that. And so what's so exciting about when you get into the franchise business is that essentially it's a good franchisor who has everything dialed in and has addressed all the different landmines that you could potentially step on during your entrepreneurial journey is able to allow you to only focus on the good that comes with being an entrepreneur. And so whenever I talk to anyone, I always tell them, make sure that when you're looking at a business or you're considering franchising, ask yourself, does that partner really understand the journey that I'm about to go on? And are they truly committed to supporting me? Because if they are, you're in a really good spot. If you don't feel like they're there to support you, then unfortunately it's not going to help take away the risk that is meant to be taken away when you join a franchise. That is always the advice I give to people. I've been an entrepreneur before, and I always share with them, it's a roller coaster and it's rough sometimes, and I take personal accountability to make sure that my franchisees don't have to go through that roller coaster, because it's just not fun, and it kind of quickly takes away the reason that you got started in the first place. And entrepreneurship it's fun, it's exciting, it's invigorating. You wake up and you don't feel like you work anymore. Like you're just a happier person. And so I want to make sure that people get to experience that at Row House. And so that's always the advice I give to any aspiring entrepreneur, because it should be a good thing.
It's interesting how you use the analogy of landmines, Ramon. I've never heard that. We've been doing the show 12 years, and I asked this question a lot, It's the first time I heard that, and I said, that makes a lot of sense, is to avoid the landmines, and that's, of course, the advantage of franchising, and, of course, people coming on board with Row House is to, of course, avoid those landmines. And I like your advice on entrepreneurship too, is that, when you don't have that support, I guess it isn't fun. I remember seeing an interview many years ago with Dave Thomas, when he was just starting the whole Wendy's concept, and he ran into a lot of landmines. And when, I remember one of his family members asked him, are you enjoying yourself? And he said, no, I'm not. He was having success with the business, but nevertheless, it wasn't fun because he was stepping into all these different landmines. I think they were opening up like one Wendy's every day or something, and it just got too big too fast, And so I think the advice you give to our listeners is really fantastic. We have this great quotes in franchising podcast. We're going to put that one in there. So I think that's fantastic. What's the best way for our listeners, Ramon, to get more information on Row House, of course, as the franchise opportunity and even the service itself? Are there any websites that you'd like them to take a look at?
Yeah, I would encourage them to go check out our website, therowhouse.com.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of good information there about the brand. I'm always a very open book and resource, and so if they ever want to contact me to learn more about it, my email is ramon@therowhouse.com. RAMON, no E at the end.
No
I
E.
often get E's at the end of my name. No E at the end. But yeah, I would encourage them to do those two things, so that if they want to learn more about Row House, we can facilitate that for them.
That's terrific. Well, I've really enjoyed talking to you today, Ramon, and I'd really like to invite you back, over the next year or so as you continue to grow, because I think this is a wonderful concept.
Well, I really appreciate our time. Thank you for carving it out, and I really enjoyed our conversation. So hopefully we get to connect soon.
This has been my pleasure, Ramon, and we'll be right back with more franchise interviews. Coming up on segment 2, you're going to hear what every franchipreneur needs to know before buying a franchise. We're going to play a clip from our popular Great Quotes in Franchising podcast right here on Franchise Interviews.
Are you looking for a franchise that delivers? Businesses will always need shipping, and for more than 25 years, loyal customers have depended on Unishippers for reliable savings and exceptional customer service. Unishippers is focused on just one thing: helping small and medium-sized businesses save time and money on all their shipping needs. And as the largest reseller of complete shipping services in the country, we have the buying power to ensure that we succeed. The Unishippers franchise offers low startup costs, no equipment or real estate required because they're not retail, residual income, and a quality of life and work-life balance. For more information on becoming a Unishippers franchisee, go to www.unishippers.com and click Franchise Opportunities, or call Franchise Development at 801-708-5822. That's 801-708-5822.
Today's Great Quote in Franchising is being brought to you by
Franchise Teacher. Would you like to know how to franchise your concept or grow your franchise business?
Meet the experts at Franchise Teacher.
The goal of Franchise Teacher is to teach, coach, consult, and advise. The team of experts at Franchise Teacher will evaluate your business model and present you with a winning business strategy.
Franchise Teacher will help you decide whether or not your concept works and if it's franchisable. Franchise Teacher is proud to have over 30 years of experience in franchising as both franchisees and franchisors.
Franchise Teacher are developers of over a dozen franchise systems, which include brick and mortar as well as home-based concepts of nearly 3,000 combined franchise locations.
Whether you need to add more units or get more customers, Franchise Teacher can help. We will teach.
Franchise Teacher will help you learn our proven system.
Coach.
Franchise Teacher will help you provide a game plan to succeed.
Consult.
Franchise Teacher will make sure you stay on track.
And advise.
Franchise Teacher will help you learn from our over 30 years of experience in franchising as both franchisees and franchisors. Take advantage of our free, no-obligation phone consultation. Simply go to franchiseteacher.com or call us at 561-385-3032.
That's franchiseteacher.com or call us at 561-385-3032.
Hi everyone, this is Marty McDermott, the president of Franchise Interviews, and welcome to another edition of Great Quotes in Franchising, where each podcast you get to hear a great quote in franchising. You know, we've been hosting Franchise Interviews many years now, and during that time we've had some incredible quotes on our show. Today's Great Quote in Franchising podcast comes from Mary Jane Riva, the CEO of Pizza Factory. And Mary Jane gave some great advice. You know, one of the questions we frequently ask on the show when we have someone like Mary Jane is, what advice would you give to our listeners in their quest to buy a franchise? And she said that you should look under the hood. And, you know, I thought her advice was very original, but you have to listen to the podcast to find out why. So here we go with Mary Jane Riva, CEO of Pizza Factory. Buy a franchise. You know, we've been doing the show such a long time now, and one of the biggest things we've learned is that, you know, a lot of our listeners in their quest to buy a franchise, they don't know where to begin because, like you were saying earlier, there's so much out there today. You know, I mean, there's just so much to choose from. Most of them don't even know where to begin. It just becomes overwhelming.
Yep.
You know, from everything you've learned, you know, up to this point, what advice would you give to our listeners?
Well, there's a couple things, and one that as we're going through this journey ourselves from being a franchisee to the franchisor, it's understanding the roles of the franchisor versus the franchisee. That's a really big important, really what is the role that you're playing versus the franchisor. And then when you're looking at brands, the other thing for brands to me is really looking under the hood. Don't just look at all the stuff on the surface. Really dig down. See what extra charges there. You know, are they marking up stuff? You know, really evaluate a brand to a brand and not just the fluff kind of stuff that you see on the top. And it's a lot of due diligence.
Right.
But, you know, ask the questions that are going to be once you're in there. You know, are they marking up the food product? Are they marking up advertising materials? You know, what are you paying? So really dig down and ask a lot more questions. And I would talk to a lot of franchisees that are in the system and see how they feel about the franchisor and the brand itself. I would do a lot of due diligence with franchisees because they're the ones that are going to tell you.
Right, absolutely. I love how you said look under the hood. You know, as I mentioned, doing the show such a long time, I've never heard that analogy before. I think that's very clever, to look under the hood, you know, to go deep, you know, inside and look what's under, not just what's on top. You know, we have this great quote in franchising. I'm going to put that one in there because I think that's fantastic. You know, it makes a lot of sense. And, you know, Pizza Factory, I mean, you have a lot of franchisees that you can call, right? I mean, I think you're up to, is it over 100 franchisees now, Mary Jane? So there's plenty of people,
We've got
you know, that. Oh, good.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was going to say we have them. They've been in the system for 30 years. We have franchisees, you know, that have been in that long, and we have them that are just getting on. So there's a wide range. So, and you want to hit all those. You know, you want to hit the newbies. You want to hit the older ones. You want to get their feel of what's been going on and how they've been treated. And but yeah, there's a lot of people to call. There's a lot of people to ask. There's a lot of different town sizes. So when you're doing your due diligence, you know, really get out there and dig deep.
If you'd like to hear that whole interview with Pizza Factory, all you have to do is go to franchiseinterviews.com, go to our Franchise Interviews by Category page, and click on Food Franchises, and you can hear the whole interview there. And lastly, we'd just like to thank everyone for making this podcast such a huge success. You know, it's hard to imagine when we started this show that our Great Quotes in Franchising podcast was going to become just as big as our regular show. So we want to thank everyone again and continue to listen to our Great Quotes in Franchising podcast, sponsored by Franchise Interviews. Take care, everyone.
Franchise Interviews. From Easton, Pennsylvania to Sydney, Australia, you're listening to Franchise Interviews. Franchise Interviews.